All right, guys, how you doing, my love cheetahs? What's going on? Today is Tuesday, the 28th of October. I didn't come on Sunday. Actually, I got super busy on Sunday and couldn't come on. But today I'm like kind of fired up. Force is strong today. Very, very strong. Um, so I think before I go into kind of really anything about what's going on, I got to tell you guys about kind of what I'm getting. I think the period from like now, but especially like the 30th to the first week of November, um, I got the number 30 and a 4. So I know I'm assuming, but I'm pretty much sure it means the 30th through like the first week in November. You might want to play that number. Last time I got a number like that, remember it came out over 50 people hit 304. So the other number was 308, but this one is 304. But I think it's going to extend even past the fourth. But I got a lot of different things going on. It's going to be kind of an explosive week. A lot of different stuff's going to happen. Um, I'm wondering if this is when that twofer is going to happen. That two politicians, one we view as good, one we view as not good. Um, Something to do with them either getting super duper sick or leaving out of here. I also saw some explosive event, actually, several explosive events. One to do with a super big electrical type of, not fire, but big electrical issue that's going to affect almost thousands of people, and at the very least, hundreds. Um, and the outage like is big, big, very big. Um, I think that this period is going to be it's going to be so many different type of things happening. We're just going to have to sit back and just not sort of panic. But it's just going to be a lot going on. I think this upcoming week into the first week of November. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there because they're really telling me that. Um, and as always, we make it through everything that happens, um, and we will continue to do so. But things do happen, and they always happen for reasons we don't even see immediately or even understand why it would happen or how could it happen. But there's always a energy connecting the dots behind the scenes, right? Always, because that's just how the pulse of the universe, divine love, the source, whatever you want to call it, that's just always how it goes. Um, but I know that everything is not only connected, but it flows eventually into a harmony, right? It seems disharmonious to us, but it eventually flows into a harmony. And sometimes we look and we say, oh, okay, I get it. Um, But yeah, so we've got a little period of time that's going to be a little dicey, quite dicey. As for Jamaica, I just what they're getting. You know, a friend of mine also said that do I think that what's happening with Jamaica is what I got for Florida? And I thought about it and tried to see what I get. And actually, I still see something for Florida. I just still see it. Um, as far as a storm and affecting most of Florida. And come to find out, there is major, almost catastrophic flooding going on right now in central Florida. Um, they've gotten like 19 inches of rain in a very short period of time. There are towns that are just like almost turned into rivers. And unfortunately for them, they're going to have the after effects of Melissa coming. So I can't even imagine what that's going to mean to those already going through. But my thoughts have definitely been on Jamaica. Um, and I think it is going to be catastrophic in some ways, but also I think in some ways, somehow people are going to weather it out, ride it out, tough it out somehow. I didn't feel a super heart gut wrenching for Jamaica when I was concentrating on them and thinking about them. I think there's going to be a lot of structural type of damage, but as far as lives, I don't see like a catastrophic amount of lives lost. And that to me is a good thing. Um, yeah. So, yeah, our thoughts definitely with Jamaica and even those in Florida going through this severe storms. And I'm curious as to why the news hasn't been reporting on it so much because when I saw the damage and then confirmed with a friend that lives there, they're like, yeah, it's really bad, and they're even expecting. Um, it's like the expectancy of a big storm coming. So, but yeah, we've got. I would say from now until like the first week of November, we've got some serious stuff coming up. A lot of people are very concerned about the SNAP benefits, and I do see that eventually. Well, first, I do think that there's going to be a lot of states that are going to somehow step in with aid, help, whatever, and it seems like that's happening in the as far as like food banks and that type of thing. Um, the SNAP benefits are not going to come right away. Excuse me, I've got something in my throat. Jeez. But they will resume at some point, and I still see this emergency bringing the House back into session. Mike Johnson rushing to the podium, and I mean really rushing, and you know that could happen within this next coming week during this time period. Um, so he thinks he's going to keep it closed for the remainder of the year. That's not going to happen. That's for sure. I see that just not every time he says someone says that or he talks about and I just see an emergency coming back. So they will come back. The SNAP benefits will resume at some point. May not be timely on the first, which I doubt it's going to happen on the first. Okay, some people, and I'm sure that these are new people to my channel because the rest of you know that back in February I gave you a prediction about Social Security, and a couple people have been asking lately, is Social Security going to be touched? Is Social Security going to be affected? And I told you back in February, I saw Social Security in a bubble and would not be touched. And so far, it has not been. Of all the things that this administration has tried to touch or has taken away or this or that, Social Security has not been touched. Um, and that prediction is still there and it still holds strong. As for the ACA cuts, they will come to an agreement about the ACA cuts, okay? And here's the thing. Back when I made that prediction, I'm like, geez, how's that going to happen? Because, you know, it seems like both sides are digging their trenches in. But I'm going to tell you how divine love works, okay? One of the reasons the Democrats are holding out and standing firm is because if the Medicaid cuts go through, I'm sorry, not the Medicaid cuts, but the uh, Affordable Care Subsidy withdrawals that Republicans put into the BBB, Big Beautiful Ugly Bill, go through as they want, the premiums will spike and insurance will be unaffordable. Well, by Mike Johnson delaying this and refusing to open the House, more and more people now are getting um, their open enrollment notifications. Okay. And they're actually seeing the price jump in their enrollment letters. Okay. If Dems had a caved and Mike Johnson had a, you know, uh, had the House in session, right? Those subsidy cuts would have been withdrawn. People would definitely, have had to pay more. So even though, yeah, to us it's evil that he is delaying the House opening, actually that's divine love at work because now people are getting. First, it was Iowa that got their notifications. Now, many more states are getting the notifications about how their premiums are going to go up. Okay? Do you not think these people are screaming and yelling at their representatives now? Do you not think that's happening? They're going to be pressured into doing something about it. Okay? So, even though it seems ugly and this and that, it actually is perfect because the longer they delay the opening of the House, bringing the House back into session, okay, more and more people are seeing actually the actual damage that's going to be done and why the Democrats are doing what they're doing. Okay? And so, I mean, like I said, we can't always see how love moves and works in the background, but it does. It truly does all the time. All the time. So, you know, Mikey, hey, you think you're doing it for one reason, and actually, it's actually backfiring and hurting you guys, um, you know, in reality. So, eventually they will have to come to an agreement, and yeah, we'll see how this all works out. Okay, I put this picture up today because that divine feminine energy, right? Um, Ireland elected what's her name? Catherine Connolly as its president. Okay, she is a staunch liberal. Okay, so kudos to Ireland. Thank you. Uh, let's see. Remember Toast Lady who went on social media? I think mainly TikTok, but she might have been shown on YouTube too. Basically, just talking bad about those that are going to lose their food stamps and this and that, and eat while she's eating a piece of toast. Well, it turns out she lost her job. What a snapback, right? So she's going to be applying for food stamps herself really soon here, if she hasn't already. Let's say another snapback. And for those that don't know, I do these snapbacks, which is the snapback of the Karmic rubber band. I got a couple weeks ago that the we'll just say the Karmic rubber band, hell with it, for Republicans has snapped back. Okay, basically karma, the energy is returning to them much quicker now, much more strongly, much more often. Okay, they've gotten away with a lot so far, but that time period has kind of come to an end, and there's going to be a lot of snapbacks of that karmic rubber band. Okay, so whenever I say snapback, that's what it is. Okay, and there's last couple videos, there's been quite a few snapbacks. Another snapback, Kansas state rep Mark Schreiber. He's blocking the GOP efforts to gerrymander Kansas. So now that's another state. Remember Indiana, who bleeds red, they refuse to gerrymander. Now Kansas, pretty bloody red, they're refusing to gerrymander. Go Kansas. Let's see. Brian Kemp, this is a big snapback, has made his third trip to South Korea to beg them to come back to Georgia. Remember, after that wannabe congresswoman who's running for office decided to turn the South Korean factory workers at the Hyundai plant into ICE. And they came and detained a bunch of South Koreans, locked many of them up, etc. And she thought she was just doing such a great thing. And then South Korea just pulled the plug on that plant and costing Georgia tons of jobs, thousands of jobs. And so Brian Kemp is now on his third trip there, begging them to come back, begging them. 3 trips, and they're still saying F you. Racism just doesn't pay. It truly doesn't. Voters rejected a MAGA candidate, actually several MAGA candidates, in a historic Franklin, Tennessee election just recently. All of the MAGA candidates were either voted out or unelected, not elected to the office that they were running for. And that's a big thing because that Franklin, Tennessee as a whole is bloody red. But in that particular district, they voted something like 79% for Don the Con. So they're super duper red, okay? So that's like a big thing, okay? That those voters rejected all the MAGA candidates. That's in Franklin, Tennessee. Oh, the humongous. If you need a pick me upper, if you just want to put a smile on your beautiful face, go look up either on YouTube or TikTok. Even I'm not on Instagram, but I'm sure it's on Instagram. Go look up the beautiful protests that um, they did in Japan, Malaysia against Trump. It will truly just warm your heart. It really will. These people aren't playing. They despise him, and they despise him in their respective countries. So, like I said, if you need a good pick me up, or just go Google that. Let's see. Uh, okay. Here's a prediction recap. I told you guys about Luigi back sort of right after he got arrested, that he charges against him bit by bit would be dropped, like his lawyers would be able to kind of somehow finesse the law, and he wouldn't be charged with like a lot of serious stuff. And I'm sure if you go back um, around that time, you know, you can rewatch my actual prediction on that. But anyway, this latest move, a judge has dropped state terrorism charges against him. Okay. So, and that was a big charge. And before that, there were other charges that were dropped against him. So, little by little, you know, they're chipping away at all these charges that are against him. Okay. I don't think that he is going to fully escape, um, you know, charges completely, but I see that it's not going to be as harsh as it originally was. Okay, let's see. Uh, there was something that. Oh, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. My prediction about him was that his lawyers would finesse and keep finessing, and they have been doing a brilliant job. Um, the latest thing with him is that a federal judge just ordered Pam Bondi to hand over a secret memo that admits the prosecution of Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a complete scam. And the memo was written by a prosecutor who quit the same day Garcia was charged. Okay? That's pretty big. That's pretty big. If they get this guy to testify, um, the the Fed's case against him is just, you know. Remember, I eventually see him free, but he's gonna have to go through a lot of shenanigans to get there. All right. Let's see. All right. Couple quick questions here. I'm just going to answer kind of quickly. Someone basically, I'm paraphrasing here, but is it bad karma to wish on Trump? Okay. D on Trump. Um, as with everything, the universe looks at your intentions, um, why you're, you know, thinking the way you're thinking, why you're doing what you're doing, why your intent. Okay. So you'll have to evaluate your intention on the reason that you're wishing he go away. Okay? Um, is your intention to save people from suffering, etc.? That's not necessarily, believe it or not, a bad thing as far as the universe is concerned. Okay? It's because it's not so much as someone um, just wishing that just like out of the blue, but it is for best intentions. Okay? And I know that sounds weird. We don't typically want to ever wish that on someone because everyone has their uh, time when they're due to leave. Okay? And no one can really interfere with that. And but obviously this person wants it speeded up, and I'm sure many feel that way. um, but I would just say just go back to my video where I talk about karma, the previous video. Rewatch, go to the timestamps that's in the comment section, it's pinned. um, and just rewatch the part where I talk about karma. Okay, rewatch that, and that should help you with that. And by the way, can we just give a big shout out to my timestamp bandit, Detective Cornfed, who just does an freaking awesome job with these timestamps. Um, I've had two people that have volunteered, and the first one was the OG timestamp, whose life just got super duper busy, but they did an awesome job too. And Detective Cornfred has taken over the mantle and just does a great job. Sometimes I'm cracking up, and sometimes I'm like, damn, they're adding, information to my comments I didn't even know about. She does an awesome job with the details. She really does. But anyway, they're always pinned at the top. And even if you've watched the video and they're not there yet, it's almost worthy sometime to come back and just kind of read through them again, and always give her those timestamps a like, okay? Please. Because she does it just so selflessly and kindly, and I totally appreciate it. Um, okay. Someone asked what happened with Stephen Miller that day after claim he was on an interview with one of the major news networks, and he claimed plenary authority that basically Trump had. And almost as soon as he did that, he just froze and he went into like a almost zombie catatonic state. And this person was asking me, what did I get about that? And what I got was that it just triggered a response in him that I've told you guys. He has some type of physical condition where it's like a muscular skeletal type of situation going on. And what I saw was that him saying that was a huge no-no, and it just triggered that response in him where he could not um, respond or do anything. And I think that is, he's had this condition and it's going to get even worse. Okay, I told you guys about this few months ago. I just saw it, and that was that was a prime example of his condition that he has. And I think he has more of those type of things. It's just that we don't see it often. But that triggered it. That just triggered it. And we're going to see that more and more, okay? Let's see. Okay. Uh, Someone asked me if guides are approachable. Um, and are they like master puppets? But basically, are they approachable? Okay. So, if you've read my books, you kind of already know the answer to this. So, I'm not going to really go into it that deeply. But they too have their own personalities. Um, but personality in a spiritual sense is on a, it's not petty like it is here. It's on a much broader scale. Okay, so um, they are very approachable, but they're not always warm and fuzzy. Okay, they're not always warm and fuzzy, and they do not want adulation. None of them do. There is no sense of worship on the other side, which is hilarious that we do that here. And, we're taught to worship, certain figures here, or, you know, um, spiritual leaders, whatever. There's no sense of that on the other side at all. There's no, we all honor the spiritual essence of everyone because we all share the spiritual essence. Okay, so you don't segregate and pick apart different spiritual essences when viewed from the other side. You just don't do that. There is no sense of separation, no um, greater than, lesser than type of thing. There's none of that. Okay, so they're very approachable. They don't want worship. They don't want adulation. They basically have a job to do. They've committed their spiritual selves to help, and that's what they're focused on. And they do their jobs quite well. Okay, they really do. They do their jobs. They're serious, very serious about their jobs. Um, they're sometimes they can be stern about them, but there's always the background of love to them. Okay, so but yeah, if you read, especially my first book, you get the sense that of their nature. Um, I had one that never revealed their actual what they could look like or what they did look like to me because they didn't want that type of oh that no, they didn't want none of that. They were about business, but they had a great sense of humor. Great sense of humor. They basically called me a shorty and said that my hair could use a little touch up. All right. Uh let's see. All right, answered that one. Oh, okay. So, uh, when a person, I talked about a self perpetuating type of hell in the previous video. And so this person is asked, how does a soul get through that or grow through that if they're in that um, self perpetuating type of hell in one of the lower planes when they are on the other side? Um, and basically, it is, I do talk about this in my second book in this section on evil. Okay, so, but I will say this that if a person is in that sort of self perpetuating hell over there that they've created for themselves, they've you know, lived and acted with so much negativity, so much sort of evil type, off balance, way off balance. Um, what can save them and what can bring them around is eventually they either get tired of that feeling, that endless suffering type feeling, and they start to show a true deep desire to change. Um, Intentional type of behavior to do better, to do it differently. And that type of energy will spark them, will attract help for them. Okay? But as long as they're dwelling in those negative type of thoughts, they won't get any help. They won't come out of that self-perpetuated hell. But once they even get a spark of that desire to do better or to do differently, etc., it's almost like a magnet. It will attract help. It will attract some type of opening for them. Okay, and from there um, they can create a situation where they can come out of that self perpetuated hell. But for everyone, it's going to be different. Okay, and the sort of time period is going to be different. Even though there's like no time, but there is, but there's not. I know that sounds weird. Okay, so I hope that answers that. And the last thing I want to talk about is how to basically um, change things for ourselves. How do we connect with that flow of divine love that's always pulsing, that universal flow, okay? Because at any time, at any moment, we can connect to it and we can see it visibly, okay? And one of the most important ways to do that, and important things you have to realize, is I'm always talking about that null spot, right? And that null spot, it's not good, it's not bad, it's a perfect balance. It's a sublime state of being, right? It's a harmonic state, okay? And when our emotions, whether it's super happy emotions or angry emotions or whatever, whenever we're off balance, whenever we're too much one way, okay, or resentment or, you know, thinking about things, dwelling on negative things, okay, we are not at that sublime state, that null spot, okay? But to reach that null spot, and it often takes time, and it's a process with yourself over and over, okay? To work through those imbalanced emotions or those extra emotions. Um, but it can be done with any situation that you're dealing with, whatever, whether it's with health or a situationship, relationship, um, whatever it is, okay? If we, in our thinking and in our heart, get to the point where we are at a perfectly balanced spot, okay, we've basically succumbed to a null feeling, a null state within ourself, right? We've let go of the anger, we've released the resentment. What we do is we automatically link up with that null spot that is always there, always present. Okay? And what happens is it takes over and it harmonizes that situation. It allows you to see it in its full harmonic state that's there already. And it transforms it in our world so that we can see it as the true harmony it is. And I know that this sounds difficult, and I'm trying to explain it in the most basic terms that I can. Okay? But in other words, there is that constant pulse of harmony. And we're here most of the time, okay? However, the less we have our human type of, I won't say traits because human traits are okay, but human type baggage, right? With a situation or with a person or with ourself, etc. The more we release them, the lighter we become, and the more we can see and connect with that pulse of harmony that is always there. And once that's done, okay, the situation that we're dealing with transforms into its perfect state. And that's how sometimes you have spontaneous healing, right? Or a situation completely reverses itself or changes, or, you know, how many times have you done this yourself or someone has done this? You say, you know what, to hell with this. And mentally you just drop it, to hell with it. And boom, all of a sudden the situation changes. That is because you have dropped the imbalances of whatever emotional baggage you had, right? You've dropped it. You've abandoned it. And it has allowed the true reality of what's going on to reveal itself to you. The universe never changes. It's always harmonious. It's always beautiful. It's always pulsing sublime, pulsing harmoniously, okay? But like I always tell you, we don't always see it. Our view is usually skewed. But the less we abandon what we think or our opinion of think or our emotions that are imbalanced, the less we abandon that, the more we can vibrate at that harmonious state and see what the reality is. And this has happened to me hundreds, thousands of times in my life. And it's happened to you too. You just maybe haven't equated it to that. But it's happened to you too. The universe, the universal pulse of love is always pulsing harmoniously. And the beauty is when we're able to see it. And we're willing to see it. But be honest, a lot of times, especially if you're angry with someone or there's a bad blood between you and someone or whatever, it's very hard to totally drop all those negative feelings towards them or the situation, right? It's hard. I know. Trust me. I know. And sometimes it's like, you know, bit by bit, you're letting go bit by bit. Sometimes you can just say, get to that point, F it. But however you get to that point, when you get to that point, that null point where you're either or about something, that's when you see the reality, the beauty of it. Okay? And by the way, the more you do this, okay, the more you work on doing that within yourself, you do realize that it allows you to see more beauty in your life and in the world. You start to see things through a different lens. Okay? You start to see that pulsing love so many different ways. It's there. We just can't always see it. All right, so I'm going to end that there. I think I've put a lot into this video. But don't forget, we've got, a little rough period coming up. But we're going to make it through. But there's going to be some explosive events. Some interesting events. So take care, everyone, and until we meet again. And thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. I really do.